Throughout the ages, alchemy has been a mystical and hidden art, a profound knowledge veiled in secrecy, preserved only for those deemed worthy, often hidden behind complex symbols, metaphors, and cryptic codes that perplexed generations of thinkers. This alchemy is not about transmuting base metals into gold, but rather a more profound and transformative art. Spiritual alchemy. Imagine that within you lies a dormant force, a powerful energy capable of transmuting your very being, transforming your darkest shadows into radiant light, your fears into wisdom, and your pain into personal growth. This is the true meaning of spiritual alchemy. It is the lost key to unlocking the essence of life, the process by which the soul is purified, allowing it to ascend to its highest potential. From the ancient Egyptian alchemists who viewed this practice as a divine art, to the Renaissance philosophers who searched for hidden truths, this knowledge has been encoded in ancient texts, secret manuscripts, and obscure symbols. For centuries, it has awaited someone with the insight and vision to unravel its mysteries. But now, in this modern age, we have the chance to reveal what has been concealed for so long. In this exploration, we will dive into the history and essence of spiritual alchemy, trace how its principles have been preserved through time, and, most importantly, show you how you can apply this wisdom in your life to awaken your inner potential. Prepare for a journey into the unknown, where transformation is not a mere abstract concept, but a tangible reality that is accessible to those courageous enough to look deeper than what meets the eye. Alchemy, from the very beginning of recorded history, has been a sacred practice, a hidden science passed down through the ages by wise philosophers, mystics, and seekers of truth. Though its origins remain shrouded in the mists of time, evidence of its existence can be traced to ancient Egypt, where the priests of the Nile saw alchemy as a divine discipline connected to Thoth, the god of wisdom and knowledge. It was here that alchemy was first linked not just to the transformation of physical substances like metals, but to the spiritual transformation of the human soul. The Egyptians understood that the alchemical process was not solely external but also deeply internal, representing the journey of the soul towards higher consciousness. This sacred knowledge was later absorbed and expanded upon by the Greeks, who integrated alchemy into their broader philosophical understanding of the universe. Philosophers like Plato recognized the material world as a mere shadow of a greater, unobservable truth. Meanwhile, the Stoics believed that true enlightenment could be achieved through inner transformation, aligning with the alchemists' view that the change of the inner self was the path to enlightenment. But it wasn't until the Hellenistic period that alchemy took on an even deeper and more intricate significance. It was during this time that it merged with the teachings of Hermeticism, a mystical philosophy attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary sage who is said to have coined the phrase, "As above, so below, as within, so without." In the Middle Ages, alchemy was preserved and protected by the Arab scholars who refined the practice and shared it with the rest of the world, particularly with Europe. During this period, alchemy began to evolve along two separate lines, one material and one spiritual. The material path sought to transform metals, aiming to uncover the philosopher's stone, while the spiritual path focused on the transformation of the soul, seeking enlightenment and unity with the divine. It was in this period that figures such as Paracelsus, the great alchemist and physician, and the Rosicrucians, a secretive order, emerged. They viewed alchemy not as a mere physical science, but as a sacred tool for achieving human perfection. For these alchemists, the laboratory was not just a place for conducting experiments. It was a sanctuary, a space for spiritual exploration and self-realization. The true essence of alchemy, as understood by these visionary figures, was that the great work, the ultimate transformation, was not to be found in the external world. Instead, it was a deeply personal journey of inner alchemy. The ultimate goal of alchemy was not the creation of gold or the discovery of material wealth, but the transmutation of the individual's soul, elevating it to a state of purity, wisdom, and enlightenment. In this sense, spiritual alchemy was not a pursuit of worldly gain, but the path to ultimate freedom, a freedom that comes from mastering the self and understanding one's place in the universe. In the rich symbology of alchemy, we encounter profound images such as dragons, purifying fire, mercury, and sulfur. Each of these elements, while seemingly mystical, carries a deeper meaning about the evolution of the spirit. Over the centuries, alchemy has been cloaked in enigma and metaphor, often viewed as an obscure and arcane practice. However, now is the time to decipher its hidden language and grasp how these ancient principles can be applied to enhance our daily lives. Spiritual alchemy is not merely a mystical pursuit. It is the art of inner transformation, an ongoing process of transmuting our deepest essence into a higher state of being. Just as the ancient alchemists endeavored to turn base metals like lead into gold, spiritual alchemy beckons us to refine our consciousness, lifting it from ignorance and limitation to enlightenment and wisdom. But how does this transformation unfold? The sages of old recognized that the alchemical process progresses through multiple stages, each symbolizing a state of being that must be transcended in order to reach perfection. These stages are not limited to the purification of metals. Rather, they form a symbolic map for personal and spiritual evolution, offering us a framework for inner growth. The first step in this journey of spiritual alchemy is Nigredo, or the black work. This is the stage of decomposition, representing the symbolic death of the ego and all the illusions that keep us bound to a limited existence. It is the chaotic beginning, the confrontation with our shadow, the aspects of ourselves we tend to ignore or deny, our fears, weaknesses, and unresolved emotional wounds. It is often experienced as a crisis, a dark night of the soul, where everything we once believed was secure begins to unravel. Yet, just as a seed must be buried in the darkness of the soil before it can sprout into life, the spirit must endure this period of decomposition in order to emerge reborn, stronger, and clearer. After navigating the depths of Nigredo, we move to Albedo, the white work. This stage represents the process of purification, the cleansing of the spirit from all impurities. It is here that we begin to cultivate mental clarity, inner peace, and emotional detachment from negativity. Albedo is deeply connected with introspection and self-awareness, a time when we start to see the world through new eyes, free from the distortions imposed by the ego. Alchemists symbolized this phase through the image of the moon, shining in its full glory, reflecting the pure light of truth. Spiritual practices such as meditation, prayer, fasting, and energy work play a critical role in this stage, helping us to purify our thoughts, emotions, and actions, which prepares us for the next stage of transmutation. It is during Albedo that the golden light of awakening begins to illuminate our inner being, marking the moment when wisdom begins to shine through us. Next, we enter Citrinitas, the yellow work. This stage is the merging of the conscious and unconscious, the blending of reason and intuition, the unification of spirit and matter. Here we learn that true knowledge is not found in external teachings or books, but rather through direct, personal experience with the divine. Alchemy teaches us that gold is not created merely by fire, but through patience, persistence, and an understanding of the natural cycles and rhythms of life and the soul. The great spiritual masters who have walked this path understood that enlightenment is not a permanent destination, but an ongoing process of evolution, a continuous cycle of growth and refinement. However, the final and most profound transformation is still to come. After traversing the darkness of Nigredo, passing through the purification of Albedo, and experiencing the illumination of Citrinitas, we now arrive at the culminating stage of the great work, Rubedo, the red work. Rubedo marks the true transmutation, the moment when the lead of our lower nature, our base instincts, fears, and limitations, transforms into the gold of full, awakened consciousness. It is the culmination of the entire alchemical process, where we achieve a state of integration and wholeness, embodying the highest expression of our true self. This is not a static endpoint, but the continuous manifestation of our highest potential as we live in harmony with our divine essence. Through Rubedo, we come to understand that the journey of spiritual alchemy is a never-ending process of evolution, growth, and conscious creation, where each new phase of life brings us closer to the ultimate realization of who we truly are. It represents the sacred union of the soul and spirit, where the human and the divine come together in perfect harmony. This union signifies the total awakening of consciousness, a moment where duality dissolves and we realize that we have always been a part of the whole. In this state, there is no separation between us and the universe. We become aware of our connection to everything around us, and we understand that the light we seek outside is already within us. In esoteric traditions, this transformative state is symbolized by the image of the phoenix, rising from its own ashes. The phoenix is a powerful representation of the immortality of the spirit, a being that undergoes continuous cycles of death and rebirth, emerging stronger each time. This rebirth signifies not only the renewal of life, but the ultimate transcendence of the self, where the spirit remains eternal, free from the limitations of the material world. Similarly, the rebirth of the sun, which rises after the darkness of night, mirrors this profound spiritual awakening. It is the arrival of pure light after enduring the darkness of ignorance, suffering, and struggle. In alchemy, this phase is called Rubedo, the final stage in which the soul achieves its highest expression. It is the crystallization of our true self, the moment when we no longer resist the dualities of life, but learn to integrate them. In Rubedo, we understand that the external search for light is unnecessary because we have already become the light. This is the state of spiritual mastery, one that has been achieved by the great sages of humanity: Buddha, Jesus, Hermes Trismegistus, Lao Tzu. These masters underwent profound journeys of inner transformation, transcending the limitations of the ego to embody a universal consciousness. Their teachings continue to guide us, but alchemy reminds us that enlightenment is not an exclusive privilege granted to a few. It is a destiny that all of us can fulfill. The path to spiritual awakening is open to anyone who approaches it with determination, humility, and an open heart. If we take a step back, we begin to see that alchemy was never truly about the physical transformation of metals into gold, as it was commonly believed. That was merely a metaphor, a symbolic language to veil the deeper purpose, the transformation of the human being into its highest, most enlightened version. Each of us holds the potential to be an alchemist, capable of changing the course of our destiny and raising our spiritual vibration. But to do so, we must dedicate ourselves to the great work, which involves transmuting the ego into consciousness, transforming fear into love, and turning our shadows into light. Yet, knowing this truth is not enough on its own. Alchemy is an art that requires practice and discipline. Spiritual alchemy is not just a philosophical concept or an abstract theory meant for mystics and philosophers. It is a living, breathing practice that can revolutionize our lives if we engage with it consciously. This practice requires more than intellectual understanding. It demands deep, committed work to transform ourselves on every level. As we embark on this journey, we must be willing to apply the principles of alchemy with awareness and diligence, integrating them into our daily lives. Let's explore how each stage of the great work can manifest in our everyday existence and the tools we can use to accelerate our inner evolution. The first phase of alchemy, known as Nigredo, invites us to confront our own darkness, the parts of ourselves we deny or hide from. It is a phase of profound introspection and purification, where we must face the emotional and psychological wounds we have accumulated over time. How can we apply this to our daily lives? The key here is self-observation. We must begin by observing our thoughts, emotions, and reactions, paying attention to the patterns that arise in our daily lives. Keeping a journal can be incredibly helpful in this process, where we can record recurring thoughts, automatic reactions, and limiting beliefs that hold us back. By identifying these patterns, we can begin to understand the areas of our lives that need healing and transformation. Additionally, working with our shadow, those repressed or denied parts of ourselves, can be profoundly healing. Carl Jung spoke of the importance of integrating these hidden aspects of our psyche, and we can do this through meditation, introspection, and even therapy. Purification rituals common in many spiritual traditions also support this process. These may include fasting, taking herbal baths, burning incense, or engaging in symbolic acts like writing down negative thoughts on paper and then burning them, representing the dissolution of the old and creating space for new growth. Once we move through the symbolic death of Nigredo, we enter the phase of Albedo, where light begins to filter into our consciousness. In this stage, we begin the process of mental and emotional purification, elevating ourselves to a higher level of awareness and perception. Practices such as meditation and mindfulness are crucial at this stage, helping us quiet the mind and observe our thoughts and emotions without attachment. This allows us to gain a clearer understanding of our true selves, free from the distortions of the ego. Gratitude and compassion exercises can also be powerful tools in this phase, dissolving negativity and opening the heart to higher vibrations. As we continue to integrate these practices into our daily lives, we move closer to achieving the ultimate goal of spiritual alchemy, the full awakening of our consciousness and the realization of our divine nature. Contact with nature, walking barefoot on the earth, immersing yourself in water, or simply breathing deeply in the fresh air, holds an incredible power to cleanse and recalibrate our energetic field. Nature offers us the chance to reconnect with the source of all life, grounding us and allowing our spiritual energy to flow more freely. This simple act of being present with the earth helps clear away the energetic blockages that may accumulate in our lives, and it marks the beginning of a deeper spiritual awakening. The moment we establish this harmony with nature, the light of knowledge begins to illuminate our existence. This is the point where we transition from simply being aware of the material world to embracing a higher understanding of the universe. We've already purified the dense lower aspects of our being, and now we are ready to invite higher wisdom and integrate it into our daily lives. Studying sacred texts, delving into esoteric philosophy, and exploring timeless spiritual teachings provide us with the tools necessary to understand reality from a more elevated perspective. Yet, the true essence of this knowledge is not found in intellectual comprehension alone. It must be embodied. Knowledge becomes most powerful when it is applied in our daily life. It's not enough to merely read about spirituality or enlightenment. To truly transform, we must live these principles through our thoughts, actions, and relationships. How can you engage with greater awareness in the relationships you cultivate? How can you bring more mindfulness into your work and your everyday choices? The practice of creative visualization and affirmations can be instrumental in helping us reprogram our mind. These practices serve as a bridge, allowing us to consciously align with our highest self and manifest our fullest potential. As we continue the journey towards spiritual evolution, the final phase of the great work involves the crystallization of the entire process. This is the moment when all the lessons we have learned through the alchemical stages begin to integrate, forming a new, clear vision for our lives. We are reborn with a sense of purpose, clarity, and determination. True alchemists do not seek transformation for personal gain alone. Their journey is one of service, of sharing the light they have cultivated with the world. Helping others, offering support, and being of service is a way to solidify and anchor our own spiritual evolution. In every aspect of our lives, whether it's through our work, art, writing, or relationships, we are called to express our newfound consciousness. Creation becomes a channel through which we communicate our inner wisdom to the world. At this stage, integrating inner balance is essential. We must learn to accept both our light and shadow, not judging either, but recognizing that they are both integral parts of the same evolutionary process. Just as alchemists understood the necessity of both the fire and the crucible to bring about transformation, we must embrace all aspects of our being in order to achieve wholeness. Our journey is not about rejecting the shadow, but about understanding and integrating it into our full self. Every part of us, every experience, every emotion, and every challenge contributes to our growth and evolution. Throughout this journey of spiritual alchemy, we have explored profound mysteries and learned to decipher the symbolism that guides us toward self-transformation. From the dissolution in Nigredo, to the purification in Albedo, to the illumination in Citrinitas, and finally to the manifestation of the true self in Rubedo, we have discovered a path of deep self-knowledge, transcendence, and awakening. However, the great secret of spiritual alchemy is that it is not a final destination, but an ongoing, ever-evolving process. Enlightenment is not a single moment we reach and stay in forever. It is an ongoing expansion of consciousness, an evolution that unfolds with every challenge, every experience, and every victory. Spiritual growth happens not through a single grand event, but through the continuous refinement of our thoughts, actions, and intentions. The alchemical gold we seek is not a literal metal, but a symbol of our own evolution. The great alchemists of history realized that true power lies not in turning lead into gold, but in transforming ignorance into wisdom, fear into love, and separation into unity. The essence of spiritual alchemy is the process of refining the soul, of transmuting the base elements of our being into something of higher value and purpose. And now the final question remains: are you ready to begin your own great work? If the knowledge shared here resonates with you, I invite you to reflect on where you currently stand in the journey of spiritual alchemy. Which phase are you in, and what tools can you apply to continue your transformation? Begin using the practices and insights shared to start your personal metamorphosis, and remember, this journey is one that never truly ends. If you feel this message may inspire others, share it with them, and continue exploring the mysteries of existence and the evolution of the soul by subscribing to this channel. Your journey is just beginning, and the path ahead is full of limitless potential.